Hey everyone, today we're making a pineapple mermaid. This was actually an idea I had a couple of years ago. There's a sketchbook I did in 2020, next to a newer version of that. My idea was to give a mermaid a pineapple tail. Here's another sketch with the color palette I'm planning on using. The obvious choice for a mermaid character is obviously Laguna Blue from Monster High for her fishy-like head sculpt and ear fins. However, I just have this one at the moment and she's in quite good condition. I don't really want to customize her. I do have this though. I know it's wild. This was actually one of my first repaints I ever did, so it's kinda bad. But I think that with a bit of paint and hope we can turn her into something really good. For her hands, I'm gonna use these pair of spare hands I had laying around on my bits box. But enough with this chatting, let's get to work. To make her hands fit, I can just force my way in, since the wrist peg is way too big as you can see. So what I did was grab some scissors and twist till the hole was big enough for the wrist peg to fit. See? Now it's bigger.
That's what she said!
By doing that, I was able to make the hand peg fit in the wrist hole nice and snug. To make the tail, we first need to put a wire in the pelvis, but since I don't have a drill, I'm using a screw and a screwdriver to make a hole in the place I need it to be. Once that's done, I can measure how long I want the tail to be. I'm using my mannequin doll as a reference to guide myself on. I'm first laying it down on my sketch and then doubling it once to make two wires which I'm then gonna fit through the hole I did and twist to get a stronger wire. To be honest, I should have used a stronger gauge of wire, since at the end of the project I can really pose the tail however I want, cause it's kinda loose and it doesn't really hold shape that well. Okay, time for the fun part, which is painting on the face. I'm first adding a couple of layers of white paint to use as a primer. I'm using a soft brush since I feel like it helps reducing harsh brush strokes. To really get rid of them, you could also water down the paint and apply it to the doll using thin coats. I don't have the patience to do that though, so I'm just using regular paint right off the bottle. I mixed a light green color to use as her skin tone, and I'm also adding a couple of layers to the face and body. I think I ended up using about 5 layers or so. When I was finished with that, I noticed that the paint had dried quite shiny and I didn't really want that. So to fix it, I sprayed both the face and body with Mr. Super Clear to matte it down. For the hair, I'm using nylon doll hair from dollcustomizing in the color Passion Fruit. To reroute the doll's head, I'm using a needle cut at an angle in a compass for easy grip. I'm basically grabbing a block's worth of hair and sliding it on my tool, then staff, and repeat 100 times. I should have rooted the doll before painting her, since it ended up cracking a lot and I had to go back with the paint and it left quite an ugly texture. Now I'm using a piece of fabric to mask the hair to protect it from Mr. Super Clear, which I'm now using to paint on the face. With my reference sketch close by, I start drawing on the face using watercolor pencils in a light color. That way, if and when I do mess up, I can easily erase it and it won't leave any stains behind. The expression I wanted to give her was nice and calm and also friendly. To have a better chance with the symmetry of the face, I usually flip the doll to get a better look and grip. I'm now sketching on the lips she has as eyelashes. For her eyeshadow, I'm using chalk pastel in tropical colors like orange, green and yellow. I'm also giving her hot pink lips. To give her more detail, I'm using a white color pencil to give her face a bit more of dimension. I'm also drawing on the corners of the lips with a darker version of pink. Then I'm using white paint to paint on the scleras of the eyes and also go back to the details I did before with the pencils. For the lips, I'm mixing a pink color with a copper paint I have to give it a bit of shine. I'm now drawing on the iris using that same brown watercolor pencil. I decided to give her a side glance since I love how that expression looks on dolls. I feel like it gives them more personality. Off camera, I gave her some final details and the face is done. Only thing missing is a bit of sparkle, so I'm using highlighter to give the face a bit of life. Then I'm applying a layer of varnish to her eyes and lips for that wet look. Once that's dry, I can finally remove the fabric protecting the hair and I can finally see how the face and hair look together. To style the hair, I did a boil wash and gave her a half up, half down hairstyle. I'm using straws and bobby pins to curl her hair and leaving it to dry overnight. Time for clothes. I'm using a mannequin doll to make the pattern for the top I designed for her. Using painter's tape, I'm wrapping it around the doll's body to get an accurate pattern which I'm now drawing on with a pen. I also draw on the seams and cut it off of her. Then I can trace around it on a piece of paper and give it some seam allowance. Once that's done, I can cut my pattern and pin it to this green fabric I had. Since this fabric frays like crazy, I go over every cut with a lighter to heat seal the fabric. I'm now pinning the fabric right side to right side and sew. Since I had no plan on changing her clothes, I decided to sew her in. For the tail, I wrapped the wire in some painter's tape for a better grip. Then I glued yarn weft making leftovers I had laying around to pad the tail. After that, I wrapped what I had in cotton fabric strips to tame it down and give it some shape. Then I pinned the fabric on the middle on the tail, wrong side up, and mark it with a pen. I marked where the back seam needed to be and cut it and sew it down. Then I checked if there needed to be some adjustments on the fit and turned it inside out. For the scales, I made 4 size patterns which I'm gonna trace and cut on this gold glittery foam. Once I had enough scales to draw someone in, I started by gluing the smaller sizes and going up in a spiral fashion. I also cutted some pineapple leaf shaped foam to use as the fins. I painted them with various shades of green and glued them to a small platform I glued before. For her earrings, I was planning on them to be like pineapple slices, so I used epoxy clay to sculpt them. Epoxy is amazing for doll customizers, since it dries via chemical reaction and you don't have to bake it like a regular clay. And after some final details, Pamela, the pineapple mermaid, is done.